Morning, good afternoon, good evening, one and all. Thanks for joining us in this episode of BRM Brown Bag. We are into our episode number 28, and we have today a special guest, Claire Anderson, joining us from Fort Worth, Texas. Um, let's talk to Claire and understand her journey on business relationship management and what has she to offer us, because we just concluded our BRM Connect and her session was full house. So I just asked Claire to share her perspectives because we're going to talk about a very important topic. But before we get into that, let's ask Claire to introduce herself and get us this episode kicking off. Thanks, Claire, for taking time and being with us, our viewers. How are you doing today, and how has been your journey so far to being a BRM?
I'm doing great today. Thank you for inviting me. This is fantastic.
So give us a little bit of a background about your journey that you became a BRM, and what was your interest towards business relationship management? Because over the years, people have done different roles and responsibilities. So give us a little bit of a rundown of memory lane from where you started off a journey to becoming a BRM.
Yeah, so I actually started in science. I have a biomedical science degree, and I was working in clinical research.
Right.
And what happened was we needed a system to help us track our clinical research specimens. And so we had engaged a IT company to come in and build that for us.
Right.
And I really kind of got the bug. It just kind of was really interesting to me how you could take a need from the business and create software to solve that need. And so that organization actually kind of saw that spark in me, and I ended up working for them as a product manager.
Right.
And now I work for a cancer diagnostic company, so I'm able to keep my fingers in the science world, but I'm working as an IT business solutions director.
Right.
And still doing kind of the same thing, but on a broader scale. So really making sure that when we run our clinical research studies, that we have the systems and the data in place needed for that. So I kind of straddle both worlds. I think a lot of the BRMs feel that way.
Right.
And it's been a great journey.
Awesome. So for us, every episode, Claire, we focus on a particular theme or a topic of interest. And when we had a discussion and looking back at what you presented at the BRM Connect in just a few weeks before, I wanted to kind of touch base on this topic of building BRM capability within a delivery team. A lot of times today, there are no dedicated roles called BRM in most of the organizations. So and you have been in that situation in the previous past. So
Yes.
we wanted to hear your perspectives around the BRM capability building exercise within a delivery team. So let's get this started off. Why is it important to build a BRM capability within a delivery organization?
In my experience, it really helps with speed of delivery. Right. If our business analysts, if our application analysts, even if our engineers understand what our business partners are trying to accomplish, it helps them come up with those solutions quicker. And when we have to pivot, there's less time needed to kind of ground on, okay, what are we trying to do? What are we trying to accomplish? You know, as time goes on, the team gets more and more aligned with the business and really feels like a part of that organization. And it helps us deliver better solutions faster with less rework.
Well, that's absolutely awesome. So is that something, Claire, has been there before? People are kind of reinventing this whole new term called BRM, because somewhere we had played this role without calling this as a quote unquote definition of business relationship management. And I'm trying to talk about in a broader sense beyond just the work that you do. Is there a need being filled today where there is a role being pivotal to make this happen because of so much complexity within IT and business? Or has it evolved, or is it kind of being consciously defined as we speak, this role and capability?
Yeah, well, I can only speak to my organization, but I would say in the past, that functionality at the tactical level has been filled by our business analysts.
Right.
If you have a great business analyst, all the things I talked about before, alignment, speed of delivery, it just comes with it, right? And so over time, that's where I got my start.
Right.
Over time, as our business analysts have gotten more and more exposure to higher level strategy,
Right.
you start growing into that space. And we haven't had a BRM function. But as we've kind of built out our business solutions teams,
Right.
the leaders of those teams have been filling that function and really aligning with our executives to really understand, where are we going as an organization? How can we get there using the technology we have, and what new technology do we need?
Right. And how do you build a BRM capability without having a designated role called BRM? I mean, how do you start with that? Sometimes, it's like, where do you start? There's so much going on. So how did you kind of conceptualize as you started to drive this whole movement? I would call this as like a grassroots movement. How did you go about doing this?
Yeah. So if you have a team, and today I have a team of about 20 individuals, it starts with you.
Right.
I firmly believe that I'm not going to ask my team to do something that I'm not willing to do myself. And it really starts with mindset and trying to build those relationships with the business, and just being curious and saying, hey, I want to understand what you're trying to accomplish. I want to make things easier for you. How can I help? And our teams see that. They see the success, right? And so I just try to instill in my team that they don't need permission to talk to someone in the business. Go talk to them, go shadow them, go see how their day's doing, and how we can help them be more successful. And really just not asking permission, asking for forgiveness, or like I actually prefer run until apprehended. Really just move forward, and people see it.
Right.
When you start getting results, people see those results and they're like, what are you doing differently? Tell me about it.
Yeah, no, that's an absolutely part. Your results should speak much more than the words, and it's also a tough battle. Now, particularly, it's becoming interesting, Claire, as you rightly say, many of the times the BRM role is to be driving things without authority, like the influence without authority. Now, this is a very, very difficult topic for most of the people, because they think that with authority comes more responsibility, but without authority, or without, how are we going to influence people? So what's been your first experience around influencing? Is it that you will have to spend more time in a company to know more people to execute influence? What kind of characteristics would you attribute to have influence when we do some of these roles?
Yeah, so for me, it really comes down to showing your value and really approaching everything with humility.
Right.
And, saying, hey, I don't have all the answers, but I want to help you get to where you want to go.
Sure.
And, some leaders in the business are more open to that than others. I have had some challenges where people are like, no, you're IT. I just want to submit a ticket and get it done. But how I've approached those situations is help where I can, even if that means, okay, I understand you don't want me involved in what you're doing. However, if something comes up where anything IT, absolutely anything, your laptop's not working, or you can't get a licensing approved or something like that, come see me. I'm not going to fix it myself, but I will connect you with the right person.
Sure.
When you become helpful, when you show value, even in the very smallest things, people are more open to kind of bringing you into the fold and including you in their strategy.
Yeah, that's true. And you did talk about a few aspects that you have done to build in that level of culture, because I think when you're trying to talk about evolving a culture of people working in certain ways to new ways of working, what would be kind of the principles that you would probably advocate for someone who's starting to building that journey?
Yeah, I mean, the BRM Institute has great stuff around this, but really having a growth mindset, coming in with curiosity. And I even, as I build my team, I look for that when I'm hiring, right? You know, how do you feel about learning new things? Are you a flexible person? Do you give people the benefit of the doubt? You know, really coming in with a spirit of, we're one organization. I'm not just IT. I often get a little bit in trouble by kind of stepping out of my lane sometimes, and advocating for teams outside of IT and saying, hey, you know, you may not know this, but you're really making it more difficult for this organization or department. And just really looking at it holistically and saying, you know, if they succeed, I succeed, right? We're one organization, and just having that mindset goes a long way.
It's very true that you said. And most of the times what I've seen, Claire, is that each and every one of us have got individual OKRs, KPIs, KRAs, whatever you call that. So when we try to focus on this whole cross-functional team end to end, is that part where I call this a skin in the game becoming a problem, because we are all just focused on our own deliverables and metrics, and that's a bigger puzzle to kind of crack because of the org structure, the way you do it. So how do you kind of get people to go away from their scope of work? You know, sometimes you need to help others, which means that I need to reprioritize that. So how do you get people to excitedly to go out of their comfort zone and do it? Because frankly speaking, I would do work which my boss rates me from a performance appraisal standpoint. So any task that is not part of my charter and scope, I tend to be quite reticent about what I want to do it. So what would be your advice for people to just make that shift beyond just their own core deliverables and metrics to think about the big picture view? Because that is something people ask, what is in for me? Why should I even consider going there, right?
Well, I feel very fortunate that I work for an organization that has a mission I believe in. I think that's really key. You know, yes, we have OKRs to hit, but we have a larger mission as an organization to hit. Most companies have this, right? If you don't know what the company's mission is, go find it, go ask. But that really helps. Also, over the time I've had my delivery team, we've really aligned our OKRs with our business as well. So, you know, we're really in support of what they're trying to do. We may have a couple, you know, additional things that we want to do internally for our team, but for the most part, our goals are the same. And that helps when trying to move forward as well.
No, that's true. And I think I love the part that you also talked about, that purpose, right? As we emphasize a lot of things, when the purpose is very clear and everybody understands the single unified purpose of why each and everyone's contribution to the company is going to make, they probably start thinking about how we can do this better. And also, one of the things that we have been talking about in the BRM Connect and follow-up was on the impact. So do you think that BRMs are creating that impact, or do they feel that create an impact? Sometimes, you know, I tell people that sometimes BRMs are thankless job, and if everything goes well, they say that the team did it, and if it doesn't go, just blame it on the BRM. So what's been your experience around, as you start to move this forward, about the impact that the BRMs are creating in the organization and respective teams?
Yeah, it is easy to feel like, oh man, I'm not getting anywhere. You really have to look for the impact. You have to really look at the small successes, the big successes. Really, at this point, I have very few individual successes that I can point to, but my team has tons. And so I really get my you know, my sense of purpose through celebrating their success. And I think as we move into leadership, that's more and more accurate, you know, and it's been an interesting shift from being a doer to just leading a team, and really just making sure that I am connected with that team and I am celebrating every little thing that they're accomplishing and being their biggest cheerleader.
I think I love this one, Claire, because a lot of times we always think about how do I move up, what kind of success that I can brag about. But you really hit the nail on the head that saying, as leaders, as we evolve, like Aaron Barnes says, we need to create more leaders. We need to be the cheerleader for getting people successful, right? If the team gets successful, we get that. And sometimes, and that's about behind the scenes, looking at the team evolve, like it's a baby just growing about to a mature adult, right? And it's so good to feel because you've made that belief, right? Isn't that a belief of the team that they can do it, and then they feel accomplished? They have a sense of pride and ownership as they start going through this journey, because it's just not about doing it alone. It's doing it with a team, right? And it's just going to be more impactful. Now, in that area of doing this stuff, it's an uphill ride. So what were some of the challenges that you saw when you tried to develop BRM capability within the delivery organization?
Yeah. It's interesting. I talked a little bit about the skeptics, right? But a lot of it too is just being willing to educate both my team and the business teams that we are involved with.
Right.
I got really good, and some of my managers too actually fill this role today. We got really good at like catching people when they join the organization.
Right.
So whenever there was a new VP or senior director, I would get on their calendar and I'd be like, hey, here I am. This is my team. This is what we're about. We really want to be strategic partners with you. This is what that looks like. And just really making sure that we're getting the word out, that we're here to help. So I have a manager on my team that does that for all the individual contributors that come in. She has like a quick 10-minute spiel, like, yes, we're IT, but not really. We're your IT. We're here for this specific purpose. Come see us, come talk to us. And so that's really been one of the keys to our success, is just kind of getting the word out.
Well, that's great that you say about, because sometimes as a BRM, you need to go there and show up with people. A lot of times when you show up with people and they just get, is everything okay? Because we saw a bunch of enthusiastic people come over and talk to us. But yeah, because you know that, your first impression is good. I love the part that when someone joins you on board as a first one, I think like catch them young in the company that they are in. Just go there and grab the point. And guess what? Because when they are coming into a new organization, they're also a little nervous because they don't know how the whole cultural norms will work around and how they're going to be making an impact. So they need some buddies who could help them navigate through this whole thing. And you say, hey, you know what? We've been in this space. If you need any help to connect with someone, just reach out. So just building that level of friendship. We all talk about relationship at the center, and that could help us to move in that direction forward. Now, what are some of the lessons learned that you think are instrumental as you start to go through this journey? And what are some of the do's and don'ts that we need to keep in mind? Because sometimes you can be over ambitious to do a lot of these stuff. So what would be your recommendation of lessons learned by doing this? Because we don't want to have people start on the wrong foot. So some tips and tricks would help them to evaluate how they want to go around.
Yeah. I mean, I think with anything, start small,
right?
If this is brand new, identify one, maybe two key, like influential people that you work with, and try to get to know them better. Try to find how you can provide value to them. The last thing you want to do is reach out and say, hey, I'm here to help. And you do that with like 20 people and they all take you up on it at once and you can't possibly help them all, right? So starting small is key. Don't assume. I know everyone says this, but I love to tell the story about when I came on as a business analyst. My very first project was to build a specimen tracking system for the laboratory. And we worked really hard. We, interviewed all the people and we're like, okay, we're going to come on site to help you with testing. And we got there and we're like, oh no, this isn't going to work. This lab is like tiny. There's a desktop across the hall or across the way from the vent hood where they're doing the work. we didn't ask enough questions. We didn't come and shadow. We didn't like engage enough. We just kind of like looked at some workflows and built the thing. And so, you know, really shadowing, getting in someone's footsteps is so important. If you don't really understand what's going on with the users that are utilizing your systems, you might be missing something big. So that was a big lesson that I learned early on.
It's true that we cannot assume things. We have to make sure that we are in this together and ask the questions. You know, sometimes I remember this quote saying that you might feel that you might look to be stupid if you ask that question, but if you don't ask the question, you remain stupid forever. So
Right.
it's better to ask and then realize to get this one done. So we're kind of wrapping up the final part. What would be your advice to see the business relationship management in the delivery team? They might not have a formal role or a discipline within the organization, but how can this help? And what are some of the resources that the delivery team can take advantage of to make a more impact? I mean, it could be a formal discipline that could come later, but a capability later. But then, how do we get started? How do we start running with whatever information that you have said to level up their game to be more strategic? What would be your thoughts?
Yeah. I'll put a plug in for your BRM brown bag. Start listening to other BRMs. Start getting tips and tricks from them. There's a lot of great articles on the BRM Institute, and really, you know, just take that first step.
Right.
You know, invite someone to have a 30-minute one-on-one with you and ask how you can help, how you can better partner with them. Really, I think everyone. The sweetest thing a leader can hear is, how can I help you?
Right.
No one's going to turn that down, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Just get started and try to seek as much information as you can, and take what works and leave what doesn't.
Awesome. I think this has been a great session so far in terms of understanding building BRM capability within a delivery organization. And as I hear from you over and over, I understand that this is more becoming an art more than a science. I did one episode saying, is BRM an art or a science?
Yes.
But also being understanding that how can I contribute to the overall success of your organization? It's also that mindset and being inquisitiveness, you know, as you rightly said, being inquisitive about what else can I do, and just being that, building that relationship, being very authentic. We need everybody to make this happen, right? And sometimes what happens, Claire, is that people think that one person cannot make a difference. You know, I just quote Mahatma Gandhi, we have Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King. A single person can make a difference. The question is that, are you committed to make an impact? So going back to the purpose, the impact statement around doing it, right? And playing that infinite game. You know, we completed our 9 years anniversary, and I was telling that we want to play that infinite game because that's kind of looking at beyond just your metrics and deliverables, and saying that how can we be a better version of ourselves from yesterday to today to tomorrow. And that probably resonates to becoming more impactful for people. So thank you so much, Claire, for your insights today with our viewers. And I hope they enjoyed this whole discussions. And for viewers, as we are talking about, Claire is so passionate about building this BRM capability. So if you are wanting to reach out to her, please do reach out, because she has a lot of experience on handling it, and she's walked the talk about this whole thing. And it's been a pleasure meeting you at the BRM Connect, and we hope to stay in touch and have a great week ahead. Claire, thank you so much for making your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone. That's our episode number 28 to complete, and I look forward to seeing you in our next episode of BRM Broadback. Until then, keep subscribing, commenting, and tell us how has been your feedback of this, because that motivates us to give you more insights from other practitioners globally and build the single global BRM community. Thank you so much.